start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Dean, you want to lead us?
Oh, if I remember it.
Okay.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, open the roll call, start off to my left. Dr. Smith.
Here.
Dean Renfro.
Here.
Kathy Burke.
No, here.
Greg Dolsky.
Here.
To my left again, Town Marshal Steve Freeman.
Here.
Legal counsel, NASCAR extraordinaire, Alex Bowman.
Here.
Clerk Treasurer Kathy Antonelli.
Here.
Town Manager Mike Yoder.
Here.
And Fire Chief Nick Cantz.
Good evening.
Good evening, all. Okay, everybody had a chance to review the agenda.
Yes.
Yes.
Anybody have any corrections, additions, or modifications?
Nope.
No.
Okay, if not, the agenda will stand as published. And we'll jump right into reports. So first one up is Main Street property option analysis.
And for some reason, Miss Heidi from
Baker Tilly?
Baker Tilly is not joined us yet. And so I'm not sure what the deal is. I've sent it to her twice. So I'm sending it to her the third time now.
Okay.
And but we can get a little started, I guess. Outline.
Get your microphone on there, Dean, please.
So here is their report. So the three properties we purchased, the total cost we have, including cleanup, is $554,670. And so they have laid out three options, and I'm sure Alex can talk to us too about these three, but one is we own the land and lease it to a developer. The other is we sell the land to a developer, or we give the land to the developer, and how much we want to incentivize and how much control we want. So, what do you want to do?
That's number two.
That was so
No, wait a
impressive.
minute, wait a minute, there's Heidi.
So impressive.
Let's. Hello, Heidi.
She's like, oh.
Yeah. Heidi, are you?
Hello there.
Yeah, there you go. I already gave your entire presentation in 10 seconds.
Perfect. Great.
So, why don't you fill in the blanks that I probably
Didn't talk about.
did.
Which is a lot, most of it.
So, did you want to share your screen, or we've looked over your report, and
Okay.
so we don't have to share screens, although I don't know what I
I
just.
can, you
what?
I can.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Did I give her permission?
I just sent the request to you.
I just gave it to you.
There we go. Awesome. Can you see that now?
Yes.
Perfect.
Awesome. Okay, well, yeah, I guess, without hearing everything that Mike said, and put together a summary of the three options for the Main Street property, and I know, there's been discussions in past meetings that we haven't been a part of, so I'm not sure what all of this has been covered in the past, but essentially on the left-hand side, have laid out, three different options, where the town owns the land, at the top, the town sells the land to a developer, private entity, and then the town gives the land to the developer as an incentive. And so, and then kind of like some financial information over on the right-hand side that kind of goes along with each one of the options. So the first option, if the town decides that you guys wanna keep the land, then you would essentially become the developer of the property. And so, just something to consider if that's what you wanna do, or, have an owner's rep that represents the town, and then the owner's rep would be the liaison between the town folks and a developer. But still extremely involved in the project and the details of the project. In that case, you would obviously need to build the new structure, and actually pay for the building structure. You would receive lease revenue from a tenant, and working with some of our commercial real estate team, the average rent per square foot for like office lease in your area, it really is, there's ranges based upon the type of development it is, but what I assumed is $15 per square foot a year for lease revenue. I'm not sure if you guys have discussed that amount at all or not, but it was what I have assumed based off information and that we have at our fingertips. In this case, there would be no tip revenues generated from the building itself coming up out of the ground, because you guys would be the owner of it. And so because it would be a tax exempt building, there would be no tip revenue. And then obviously the town would be responsible for all of the maintenance and upkeep and expenses of the building, or you would build that into the lease payment structure. There's several ways that you can structure that with legal counsel. And so really, in this particular situation, you need to think about, building the new building structure and what revenues and wherewithal do you guys have as a town to be able to do so. And so kind of popping over to the right-hand side, we did look at the town debt limit and the redevelopment commission debt limit, which you have two separate debt limits that are 2% each. It is 2% of the AV divided by 3, and then you have to remove any debt that counts against your debt limit. And so the town does have GO bonds that count against the debt limit, so that is why you have about 700,000 remaining in the debt limit of the town. And then with the RDC, there's no debt, and so it's a little over $1 million. I would say I put this here just so you have this at your quick fingertips, but I would add that there are ways in Indiana law to issue lease bonds, which essentially get you outside and around and above these debt limit numbers. And it's very common structure. Because just one way to get to the debt limit, in my personal opinion, and I don't know if there are any legislators in the room. But it's rather archaic and doesn't really keep up with the growth of communities, so. So please know that there are ways you can get around your debt limit if you would like. So from there, we took the next step and ran just very high level numbers with your existing TIF areas and also your edit revenues that you have coming to the town. And what we do is called a bonding capacity. Essentially, if you would max out the revenue streams for like all of the existing TIF areas at an annual payment of 800,000, not taking into consideration any, future projects that might need to be funded. It would take into account, like your fire needs and professional fees and some annual ongoing expenses that we are aware of. But any new projects that would need to be funded from the TIF, it doesn't assume anything. And so 800,000 would be the maximum annual payment that these TIF areas could withstand, and that would get you net bond proceeds of about 6.5 million. So that's really the biggest revenue stream that you all have to work with. So the discussion then is, one, if you go this route, is this a priority project that you guys have? Are there other projects that you have coming down the pipe? Do you want to save some of these annual revenues to, maybe wait for another project to come and, put this, maybe only do a $400,000 payment or whatever it might be? Then it would obviously reduce the proceeds of a bond issue that you have to actually build the building. And then same situation, we looked at your edit revenues and really based off of annual ongoing expenditures out of this fund. Really, there's room for about $100,000 annual payment. That would be really maxing that revenue stream out as well. And so that would net about 855,000 of net revenues. Based off of the 20-year bond structure. So, just wanted to provide you a little bit of perspective of at least two of the revenue streams that you have to work with, and I am not privy to if you have any type of design or concept in mind that you would want for this building, to have any perspective of, is this enough or not? And would you need to combine these two? Are there other revenues that you might have at your fingertips to fund the building? So obviously with this structure, there is that large expense on the town side of things. Kind of in return for that large expense kind of out of the gate that you would have to fund through a bond, you would receive lease revenue eventually, once the building is built, once you get tenants in the building, assuming that it is 100% leased out. I did a very, very rough sketch on GIS of what size building could fit on those three properties, keeping in mind the right of way, the bridge, and all of the kind of moving parts along kind of the bridge and riverside here. And 8,000 square feet really made was like the maximum amount of building that you can get on this property, and that is again maximum and not conservative. So with the 8,000 square foot building and lease revenue of about $15 per square foot per year, you would get about 120,000 of lease revenue. The lease revenue is a flexible revenue stream that does come into the town, and so I would say that you would not want to pledge it toward the bonds because of the uncertainty of that revenue stream, that lenders might not love that. But there are other things that you would be able to do with those lease revenues. Again, it would be a pretty flexible revenue stream that would come in. But you are reliant on one of the tenants being in the building and then paying their lease payments. So this again would assume full build out.
How do you said you have a,
Lots of information.
yeah, how do you said you estimated an 8,000 square foot building? Are you thinking a single story structure, multi-story structure in that 8,000?
That was just the footprint, not knowing exactly what you guys wanted. So that would be a single story. I just did like a rectangular building. I don't know if you can see my cursor or not, a rectangular building.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Pretty much sitting like on this side right about here,
That would
Okay.
not include a parking lot.
right?
no,
So that's why it is a maximum, definitely a maximum number.
Does that include the parcel by the bridge that we can't
So
use?
again, if you think it's, a 5,000 square foot building or, however that changes, I would say just assume this $15 per square foot. I would say $10 to $15 per square foot based off of the sales recently, and leases recently in your area. We looked at Elkhart and both, in Bristol and Elkhart both.
Were you asking if that 8,000 included the space for the new bridge?
Yeah,
No,
No, she
No.
was east of that.
No, it's, I kind of squeezed it, oh, I can, remember that.
well, the bridge part is marked off.
I assume from you see where my cursor's at?
Mhm.
yeah,
Oh, right along here and then over. And out.
I mean, I have thoughts on what the building. Well, first of all, which option, 1, 2, or 3?
2.
Say that again? Is that a question for me?
No, as for the council, I was just asking council their thoughts on option 1, 2, or 3.
So I think I can walk through the next two, just with my perspective.
Yes, please.
So the second option is the town sells the land to the developer. So in this case, you have the land sale revenues coming back to the town or the redevelopment commission, either one. Those revenues can be used pretty much on anything. It comes into like the general fund expense. I have assumed based off of sales prices of the property, again, high end, that you would get about 500,000 is what you could sell, like all three pieces, and keeping in mind like some of the unusable space on the three properties. Again, I am not an appraiser, so this is not an official appraisal by any means, but again, or maybe a reasonable estimate. So you would have that coming in. The property would change from tax exempt to taxable. So with that, the redevelopment commission could create a TIF allocation area. The redevelopment commission in the town could incentivize the developer to build the project by pledging all or a portion of those TIF revenues back to the developer if needed. The town, you would no longer be responsible for the actual construction, but I put here that you could, through an economic development agreement with the developer, have development requirements in place before you even sell the property to make sure that they are building to the standard and the type of development that you want. So I know that that has been kind of a concern, whether or not you want to let go of the control of the site. And I would just say that we have seen ways throughout the state of how you can maintain some control, but not be responsible for the construction if that's what you decide you want to do. One other thing with this option, and I guess it kind of goes into the third option as well, is if you sell the land or you give the land to a developer. So an additional way to incentivize the developer besides the TIF revenues is that you would give the land to the developer, and that land, as you can see, has a value on it. And if you can get a developer that's willing to build what you would like and just give them the land as an incentive, then you would be able to, again, create the TIF area, collect 100% of those TIF revenues coming back into the town that would need to be used in serving or benefiting the TIF area. And you would still be able to meet the but-for test if you can say that there are public infrastructure projects that you need to do in the economic development area, which based off of project lists that I've seen, I think with a straight face, you could say that. And then again, the town would no longer be directly responsible for the construction, and that you again could put development requirements into place in this particular scenario.
So Heidi, when you say a maximum of 8,000 square feet, what, you're saying that's the biggest building we could build there?
Well, I'm definitely not an architect, an engineer, but I'm just doing basic mapping on that site. That's really kind of the largest building. It seems that would be able to fit across those properties. But that, I mean, that is the design that you guys would have to have built out.
Yeah.
And two, it just depends on, I don't know what requirements right now the town has as far as building standards, but along the river, you have limitations on how tall you can build or not. If you don't, is that something you guys want to revise?
Yeah, and I don't know that we have a standard for that because, I mean, the Redbird's 2+ stories.
And
So-
that was built in the 1800s.
Yeah,
And there's,
Yeah.
the only height restriction in the county is like 40 feet or 50 feet high for a building. That's in commercial sites.
yeah,
Business sites, I don't recall a height, but we will be creating our own here soon. Anyway.
right.
But you gotta also realize that along the river is that our property too? This whole area,
Yes.
parking
Yes.
lot and everything, that other big long strip?
Yeah.
Okay,
And we're clearing up the title on that.
yeah, because that pretty much just goes straight down
Yeah.
at that point. So as far as considering for square footage, I wouldn't even consider that piece of property in the back. Because how can you build on a,
Appears in and.
you know,
You do like a walkout basement?
well, that's different. I
my-
mean, a walkout basement. is one
Right,
thing,
so
but-
here's just my thought, and I want everybody to chime in and give me your thoughts on what you see and what you envision. My thought is, I envision a two-story building there. Two-story from street level, so one level, two levels up from street level with a basement. And the basement being a walkout. That has a patio, so that lower level. Right in this area where where it dips down. Have like a patio down there with steps that go down to the river. And have piers and docks along the river that people could boat up to, jet ski up to, kayak up to, tie up, walk up the steps to the patio, go into the restaurant, eat a meal.
So basically like a building that was there.
Yeah.
That burned.
Well,
Yeah, because that had an outside walkout basement on the backside.
yeah,
It
yeah,
had
I mean, in,
2 stories.
right, yeah, in concept of, yeah, the walkout with
Yeah,
2 stories.
yeah,
And then even have something on top that could be like rooftop dining. Now, how big do we make this building and how many tenants can we get in there? Cause I could envision, so if we're looking at the site, if we're standing on the street looking at the building, I would say 2/3 of the building would be a restaurant, 1/3 could be a bakery, a coffee shop, an ice cream shop, a knick-knack shop, something. And then if it were 2 stories, then you could have, 2 businesses, one on top of the other. It could be a variety of things,
I have a,
retail type shop.
what's the square footage of the property in the center there, the biggest rectangle from east to west? You see that where used to be a white building?
Showing the GIS, screen now, just for some perspective. This black box really would need to be shifted this way, but this black box, you can see about 7,500 square feet of a building footprint.
Yeah, that's gotta go over.
So again, if you need to preserve more of this space over here on the left.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
use the building, but it would save you the some room for a parking lot.
Yeah, I'm talking about the line right there where the right side blue one is what we're showing. Yes,
And your question was, what's the acreage
just in the,
field off?
whoops.
So I guess one
I
of the
can pull it
questions
up.
is, are we going to have parking on site?
We would almost have to.
I
There's no
don't think
place
it
else.
makes sense.
It does,
personally.
there's not enough room.
There's not enough room.
No. Well, where would people park to go there then?
So
Off-site.
off-site, just like they do in Goshen.
Be the public parking next to Redbird or across the street.
Yeah. I mean, right now, we've got Memorial Park, and we just had the land donated from the condoms.
Right.
We could potentially move Memorial Park somewhere else.
How many spaces does that parking lot have down there that we put the lines in? Right down over here.
Charles. Grandma's house?
How many spaces goes?
20 there.
Yeah, about 20, I think.
Okay.
Seemed like
All
there's
right.
10 on each
I didn't
side.
realize it was that many.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's
Okay.
parking there. And I mean, if we talk to the bank after hours, we could utilize parking there. We've got parking on Charles Street.
Mhm.
I mean, think about the Opera House.
Yeah.
They all park off-site.
Right,
Nope,
Yeah.
right.
you're right.
So I don't think we want to take up the space on the lots for parking, because
No.
number one, how many spots would you gain?
Well, and not only
Maybe.
that,
Maybe 10 spots, if that.
what I was thinking was the fact that it is so close to the light, parking in and out is not a good idea.
No,
I mean, I've never thought that, but I
Yeah.
was wondering, we had talked about parking before. And I didn't know how everybody felt about.
Yeah.
Parking there.
So
I never had.
Parking
thought
would
that.
have to be off-site.
Well, if that's where she's figuring the building, the black lines, that building could go east quite a bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have this parcel
You
too.
increase the size of that building quite a bit.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it has to, because where it is now is.
And if, you know, if it's more than one story, then that square footage should
The
increase.
black
Yeah.
box needs to be moved, because there's
Gotta
more
go
than
east.
50, what, 60 feet there?
Mhm.
Here for the
Yes.
bridge.
It's gonna
I mean,
go.
this was illustrated to get done, is, you know, keeping in mind the tree line and the river and.
Cause this is the lavender patch right here, right?
Yeah.
So we could bring it all the way over to here,
Yeah.
actually all the way over to here.
There's plenty of space there for a
Yeah.
nice facility, and I will say that two people interested in buying and developing, neither one was concerned about parking.
Okay,
That's good.
so,
I mean, the parking, you know, like the ins and outs, the egress and all those kind of things, I mean, that's something an engineer would easily, I mean, they're gonna be the ones that make recommendations for you guys on how that best flows in and out traffic wise. A very common discussion.
Yeah, because the bridge will require more. They'll require about over to here.
if not more,
Yeah.
We can
at
fit a
least
big
60.
building, and the big
At
question
least
is the
60.
manage. Like, that's gonna dictate, because we got 3 buildings in town already that are open for lease and have had.
Yep.
Loose leasing, so I mean, that's really what's gonna, we can put more space in, I mean, we could do 8 to 10,000 square feet probably, if you take the lavender patch out and do 3 stories, I mean, you could put 30,000 square feet.
Yeah.
But is that needed?
right,
So I mean, cause then you look at the cost of a building of that size, I mean, I don't know what drainage is at that point. We can
Yeah,
just be,
river.
well, right, I mean, I'm sure the EPA is gonna love that,
yeah,
but.
yeah, and that is, that, as we were talking through these options, that was my thought is, okay, we could build a 20,000 square foot building, but could we fill it?
Yeah.
Right.
Keep it filled.
Yeah, and keep it filled,
I mean-
that's,
Personally, I like option number 2. I mean, we
I do
can,
too.
as far as using TIF revenue to help them kind of guide what we like. But as far as owning it, the maintenance of it, managing it,
yeah,
we have so many projects going on in town right now.
yeah,
I mean,
That is
staff
gonna
is
do it
already
for us.
busy.
Yeah.
We'd almost be hiring more people just to manage the building
Exactly.
and not be able to guarantee on the lease amounts. That we're just burning money at that.
and if
point.
something breaks down, we don't wanna have to deal with it.
Right.
Could actually kind of blend 2 and 3 if we put together the request for proposal and a scoring sheet. You get somebody with a really great idea that wants to invest a lot of money there. He might be willing, he might want to pay less. So you just kind of create your score sheet so you
Yeah.
get what you want. For the town overwhelmingly likes the idea of a restaurant, a coffee shop. The idea of a pier out on the rivers popped up again today. There's a lot of, so I think everybody knows kind of what they want there. We just need to find the right. We
Yeah.
got enough horsepower to do it.
And I was gonna say the same thing, Mike, that you just said, a blend of 2 and 3 where it's a developer to incentivize them, maybe not charge them a $500,000 cost for the land. Maybe we put the request for proposal out there, we come back, and if we can find somebody that says, I can put up a 30,000 square foot building and I can fill it with this, and this. And they know they've got tenants that will come in with that. Then maybe it's a blend where we say, okay, you've got the best proposal. If you're gonna guarantee that we can fill this space, because that was one of my concerns as we were listening to all this, Greg, too, is can we fill 30,000 square feet? But if we can find a developer that says, yes, I can do that, then maybe it's a combination of 1 and 2, or 2 and 3. We say, okay, you do it, we'll sell it to you for $1.
You get the right proposal
You-
and
Yeah,
the guy that's got the money to do it.
yeah, because let's just be really honest here with the purpose of this is, the purpose of buying this land is twofold, right? One, it is initially it was to create the walking bridge. Now we know that it's gonna be to expand the existing bridge and make the walking bridge a part of the new expanded bridge by the county. Okay, so we've got that. The second part was, we wanted to have some control over that property. Let's face it, to clean it up and do things that the town, that would benefit the town. So we've already spent the money. And personally, I don't know that I'm dead set that we've got to sell it to recoup that money. If we can do what we set out to do, which was develop that site into something that benefits the town, I guess I'm not so hung up on, I want to get back all the money we put into it.
Yeah, cause I don't think we'll ever get the money we got into, no matter what.
I do want to tell
Yeah.
you that when you said sell it for $1, reminded me of the old fire department. Because when the old fire department was here and we sold it to the fire department for $1.
Yeah.
In order to buy it back, we paid over $200,000 for it.
Yeah.
And that, this $1, just take it. I don't go for that.
Well, there's
Well,
always-
but the town didn't pay for the fire station, Cloyce Cummins did. Cloyce built that fire station. Town did not spend a dime.
Well, I was on the board when they did it, so.
I was on the fire department, at the time, I know what it was.
Well, I'm not gonna argue, but,
But I think, I think my thought process with that is the incentive for a developer to come in and spend more money to make a better facility, building, get tenants, blah, blah, blah. Because if we can incentivize the developer,
I agree.
they can also incentivize the tenants to come in.
I agree, but I mean, and I don't expect to make back what we paid for it.
Yeah.
If we're going to help a developer.
Yeah.
But, $1, $10, $100, to me, that's not a good idea. I mean,
And one thing I might jump in and add, if you don't mind, is, just with the experience of working through these projects, is, this will be one of the first projects like this on the river in Bristol, is that correct?
Yes,
right,
Okay, so in communities where this is the case, essentially, if you go down the route of trying to find a developer and, we'll figure out the land stuff later, but if the goal is to eventually either, like, basically give it or sell it to somebody and go down that path, what will happen is, as Mike was mentioning, you would do an RFP out, you'll lay out terms to, the developers that will be looking at this RFP, what the town schools are, what do you want in there? How would you like your parking, all of these different details. And then hope that, whatever date and time that you have for those developers to respond to your proposal, that you get some, step one. Once you get some developers, in that case, one of the requested pieces of information is, give us some high level site plan that you could envision for the site. You will provide the parcel numbers and like some pictures of the site. And they will give you some like high level design that they maybe done in another community, but that they envision for this site. And then you would make decisions on if you like the developer based off of those things. And then go to the next step is, okay, to get this done, what incentive will you request, if anything? You tell us, what is your financial gap to get that project like this up off the ground? And then that's where the negotiations start happening on, okay, so, if the gap is $1 million, because this is the first development of this type in this community, banks aren't sure, if this is gonna happen, like, does the developer have credibility from the banks? There's not very many comps like this. That will all develop what the financial gap is that you guys would be responsible for between the town and the redevelopment commission for trying to fill. And if you can't fill their gap by, giving them the land at some giving them the land or maybe at a reduced cost, plus maybe all or a portion of the TIF. A project like this, that is the first project up off the ground, I'll just tell you now, is going to cost you more than the second project that comes. But really to kickstart this development, if that's what your goal is to kind of to do, down the river, it will take more to be one of the first projects up out of the gate. So I'm just want to be transparent with you, kind of out of the gate as far as setting expectations, as far as like what the value of the land is. You don't want to put that out on the table first by any means, but you want them to tell you, okay, you gotta tell us what your financial gap is, and then we will figure out on the back end how you guys can make that happen if you're willing.
Okay,
So it could be that case where you would give them the land plus some of the TIF, but then keep some of the TIF to do whatever you need to do.
okay, that makes sense. Thank you. Other thoughts?
We still gotta pay to tear the other building down yet, right?
Not
Not
necessarily.
necessarily.
I'll put it in the negotiations, you mean?
Yeah,
There I
Somebody
can see
might
doing
come
a
along and say,
discount.
I can use that building as it is.
Yeah,
Or a developer may come and say, I can use that building as it is and build onto it or do something with it, so.
yeah.
I'm, unless you guys really want to, I'd rather not spend any more money.
I wouldn't
Doesn't
either.
make sense.
No,
at
it's,
this point.
No.
It seems to be a prime property, from, again, what I'm used to seeing. Obviously the river is a great asset that you guys have, that you could really ignite and, make a tourist location or, more favorable than what it is now.
Okay. So I guess next step would be
RFP.
RFP.
Mhm. Alex will get right on
And we work with several developers as well, in the northern part of the state, but all over the state, so we are more than happy to help distribute, push that RFP out, to the world after, when it's ready, and we'll definitely be willing to work alongside the team to provide any guidance on terms and such.
Okay, it's good to know.
Very good. Thank you, Heidi.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you, Heidi, appreciate it.
Any other questions?
No.
More questions?
Guess not.
Okay.
You can go home, unless you're already.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Heidi. Okay.
All right, I will figure that out. And we have an agenda somewhere that just disappeared. Oh, well, the only thing left is,
You're not.
unless there's anything else on that topic, I'm hearing RFP and we'll start working on that.
Okay.
And, the only thing left on the agenda is Kathy's got something.
Okay, Kathy.
There's one item, Jill's been working on the annual financial report. And we did this a couple of years ago. I think 22 is what we found. The last was, we create funds that we utilize depending on what the projects are. And those projects come and go, and the fund line items are still there in the budget.
Okay.
So we are asking to, all three of these accounts that are listed or funds are at zero balances. So we're asking that the council deem them dormant and be able to allow us to close when we close the year.
I make the motion that we close fund. Why can't I make a motion today, can I?
You can.
Yeah, you just adopt the resolution as presented.
Yeah. I make a motion that we adopt resolution 2025-6.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Kathy, second by Doug, open for discussion. Okay, no further discussion, take a vote. Doug Smith,
Yes.
Dean Renfro,
Yes.
Kathy Burke.
Yes,
Greg Dolsky.
Yes.
And Jeff Beach is yes, motion carries.
Thank you. So we are working on finishing out the annual financial report for 24 and hoping to have that done by the end of the week and turned into Baker Tilly for review. Then it will get advertised in Gateway. We don't advertise it in the paper anymore.
Okay.
And then we'll be moving on for 25, in which case you guys will see regular revenue reports at the second Thursday meeting of the month. And you'll see regular fund reports, appropriation
Thank you.
related, so you have a better idea of what's going on.
Great. Sounds good.
There will also be a second docket that I will send out tomorrow that has some extra 24 items that we added on.
Okay. Right, anything else?
No.
Okay,
Thank you.
we have anything for Kathy?
No.
Okay, if not, Alex, doesn't look like you have anything?
No, I'll talk to you, Thursday night.
Okay.
Nothing for this evening.
Any questions about upcoming council meeting agenda items?
Speaking of upcoming, do you have anything for your agenda?
Oh, do I?
Yeah. I mean,
Ooh, that's ominous.
I'm sure I do.
Is that a pop quiz?
no, it's because I'm just trying to think if we have something pending that needs a second reading or something. But
Nothing needs a second reading. Yeah, I think as a preview, the resolution expressing an interest in acquiring property is one that will need to be adopted with regards to the appraisals. With you, Scott, and I were going back and forth on.
Codman? No.
No, for the
Street Department building,
correct.
the weak
Oh.
property?
That one. We're still waiting on that second.
Yeah, so we can get the resolution
That's
going,
right.
get all that
Okay.
done. So we'll do that, and then that's the primary presentation I'll make to you.
Okay.
I know a while back, we also talked about, seeing if we would do a construction ordinance. Remember I sent you an old copy
Oh, the
when we
development-
had
the
about
development
development standards.
We are, I think we made.
Do you still have
in
that
our
copy? Because
match,
I can send,
Yes, I had.
okay,
So our March work session, we may be going through that.
Okay.
first
Go
draft.
through the overlay.
Yeah, Doug and I have met with JPR and yes, so we're
okay,
getting close.
thank
Okay.
you.
All right, number 9, any other comments or questions?
Mm-mm.
Okay, if not, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'm
Motion by
second.
Greg, second by Kathy, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.